Hello, and in this video we're going to be running through the dish recipes component that can be found under recipes and menus. What you will notice throughout the video is that it's quite similar to the prep recipes tutorial that we previously ran through above here. The reason being that the creation of prep and dish recipes aren't too different. The only difference is that your dish recipe is your end product. So we're pulling our prep recipes into our dish, and we're also pulling what we previously created in the prep section in Mise en Place into that dish as well. If we're thinking of maybe a sandwich as an item, the sauce that we put in is a prep recipe, and maybe the sliced tomatoes that go in is a prep. So essentially we're combining everything into this one section here under our dish recipes. Now, what you can see here is that similar to prep recipes, it is also organized by category. We believe this was the most intuitive way to view your menu items. You can see how many dish recipes fall into each category, and to simply create a category, the same process, going to the top right corner, selecting your category, naming it, and adding an image for aesthetic purposes if you please. Jumping into one of the dish recipe examples, let's go into the burgers category, and before we start looking at one of these items, just a quick idea about how to create a recipe item. Click the plus in your recipe button in the top right corner, name it, categorize it, and then start entering the ingredients. As we've discussed previously, the system starts automating these suggestions. Put them in, put in the quantities. If the conversion has not been done previously, as we saw in the prep recipe section, you can enter it here, or if it's already been stored, then you won't have to do it again. Likely, once you've done this one time round, you won't have to do it for future items. And what will happen is it will plug in a cost, and then this information here is auto-populated. The only thing that will need to be manually entered, as you can see it's prompted you here, is the selling price. What this will allow you to do is understand the cost effectiveness of your particular menu item. We'll run into this in more depth in one of our examples once we click into a pre-created item, just so you can see what that actually means. And you can enter any instructions here at the bottom for further details to your kitchen or staff, whoever is responsible for prepping this item. So jumping to an example, let's say the fried chicken burger. You'll have it titled, you'll have it categorized, you'll have your items or ingredients, and as you can see here, some of these are prep recipes that were created here that have been pulled in. Some of these will have conversions, some of them will not have conversions, and it'll be a matter of just entering them in the same way that we noticed with the prep recipes. So you can see that there's a cost feature here on the far right. It has tallied this up and given us our total cost. Now, as we said previously, you need to enter the selling price. So in this case, it was 12. And what that's done is it's told us what our optimal selling price is. It has given us our food costing percentage. So we've told, generally, Restoke recommends, or we sort of say the standard food cost is about 25%. We do allow for a give or take of a couple percent here and there, just because you don't want to be notified every time you jump over it straight away. It's up to you to determine that in the settings here. But in this case, the food cost is within the margins that have been provided, and you can see what the gross profit is per item sold, the gross margin, the net profit, the net margin. Now, the beauty of this tool here is that it's providing you with individualized food costing per item that's going into your end item. So you really can see that if something's jumping above the food costing, so let's say this was above 25% or above 28%, you can actually tell where it's actually starting to move and why your costing is going up. And also keeping in mind that with our OCR technology, so every time you receive an order from a supplier, once you scan the invoice and the system registers the item, if a price has gone up from your supplier, it will actually update in the system, and all this costing here will also be updated consequentially because of that. So that's really important and really effective item for you, effective tool for you to use in costing your items effectively. You can also use the food costing feature that comes out of here as a comparative tool next to your sales. You can see, although this tells us whether the items are cost effective, it also tells us, is it worth selling it if this and this is selling this much throughout the week or day. So up to you how you use the insights, but it is giving you a really thorough breakdown of what this item is costing you to produce. As we said before, you can add further instructions. You can even add an image of how you would like the end product to look when served to the customer, or just generally how the product should look. It's pretty much it for a dish recipe. As we said before, it's essentially the same as prep recipes. The only difference is that you saw there was a mix of prep recipes and mise en place or prep items being pulled into here, and then just needing to add the necessary conversions and setting the prices to see how that affects your menu item. The other thing we will just jump into, since we are looking at food costing right now, is this food costing tool right here. And it's just a dashboard of all those food costing categories or those total dollar amount items that we were just looking at before, but in this table here. And you can see the top to bottom, essentially your most effective food costing items to your least effective food costing items. The ones that are in trouble will be marked with an asterisk or an exclamation mark, and you can actually click in and inspect. So you can actually deep dive here. You can see if your food cost is above the range that you want it to be at, and you can see all these components, and then maybe investigate further by going into your dish recipe or your prep recipe and seeing how much each thing is costing you, or whether a supply item has gone up by a certain amount. This is why it's pushed it out of range. But it's alerting you to the fact that something's not being costed effectively, and you can actually go in and do something about it. So this is a dashboard that can be viewed by just everyone, or you can look at it by category. And if you have your menu uploaded, you can look at it by the menu. So that's essentially it, guys. I hope you found that helpful.